Hello truckers, welcome back to Open for It. Finally, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has issued a new rule to prevent broker frauds. The FMCSA new rule will come into the effect from January 16, 2024. The FMCSA is tightening oversight in 5 areas of brokers' financial responsibility and consequence of non-compliance. First, immediate suspension of brokers or freight forwarders operating authority. FMCSA says that if the surety bond worth $75,000 falls down and the brokers or the freight forwarders does not replenish it within 7 business days of its notice, the FMCSA will issue a suspension notice of their operating authority. Why does this FMCSA new rule? Freight brokers are required to maintain surety bond worth $75,000 with FMCSA. It's like an insurance to protect carriers. The carriers can file a case against the broker surety bond worth $75,000 and get claimed if not compensated for the service they offer. Earlier, broker could slip below the $75,000 and still operate. Imagine you did a load for $3,000 and now the broker is not paying you. You file a case against the broker surety bond worth $75,000 and get paid $3,000 back. Now the broker surety bond worth is $72,000, but what if the broker surety monies dries out? Why does this happen? Shippers pay brokers for the service rendered by the carriers, but the broker uses the carrier's money to improve their operation till the invoice becomes due. This results in late payment or non-payment to the carriers. The compliance date of this provision is January 16, 2025. Second, only certain entities can provide funds for BMC 85 filings. FMCSA limits the eligibility of providing surety bond to the brokers or the freight forwarders. The loans and financial company will no longer allow to serve as a BMC 85 trust unless they receive a certification for operating as a financial institution. That is still allowed to provide service. This helps in successful completion of the claims that comes in. Before this provision, the loans and financial company were allowed to serve as a BMC 85 trust. Freight brokers or freight forwarders used to take a loan from finance or loan company to pay back the surety bond. The loans and financial company are not subjected to the rigorous federal regulation that is applicable to the chartered depository institutions or to the state regulations. The compliance date of this provision is January 16, 2026. Third, acceptable assets. The FMCSA requires the broker to have assets readily available to pay carriers in case of any disputes. The assets include cash, treasury bonds, and irrevocable letters of credit issued by the federally insured depository institutions. Real estate, stocks, and non-treasury bonds are ineligible. In other words, the broker must have cash or cash equivalents that can be quickly converted into cash. The FMCSA has determined that cash, treasury bonds, and irrevocable letters of credit has stable in value and can be quickly liquidated within 7 calendar days. Why does this FMCSA new rule? Before this provision, there was no clear guidance on what kind of assets were acceptable in brokers or freight forwarders trust fund. The lack of clarity led to the disputes and confusion between brokers and carriers over the type of assets that could be used to pay claims. The compliance date of this provision is January 16, 2026. Fourth, surety or trust responsibility in brokers or freight forwarders insolvency. When the surety provider or financial institutions makes a payment against the surety bond or trust funds or anticipates making a payment after aggregate multiple claims, they may use freight brokers or freight forwarders' financial failure as a justification to cancel the surety bond or BMC 85 agreements. In other words, if the surety provider finds the brokers or freight forwarders is going through the financial crisis, they must report immediately to the FMCSA. Why does this FMCSA new rule? Before this provision, there was no clear guidance on what kind of responsibilities does the surety provider or financial institution have in that kind of cases. The lack of clarity led to the confusions over the responsibility of surety providers or financial institutions as there was no benchmark. The compliance date of this provision is January 16, 2025. Fifth, enforcement authority. FMCSA will have the rights to take enforcement action against brokers and surety bond providers if they not comply with new regulations. FMCSA, before making a final judgment, they first issue a suspension notice to the surety bond providers and allow them 30 days to react. Every infraction will cost around $12,882 and the surety bond or trust fund providers does not eligible to provide brokers financial security service for next 3 years. Why does this FMCSA new rule? Before this provision, there was no clear mechanism for enforcing broker financial security service. This resulted in late payment or non-payment to the carriers. The compliance date of this provision is January 16, 2025. Thanks for watching. If you really need videos like this, please leave us a comment below.